In today's video we are going to go through some of the bad habits that prevent you from being rich. 1. You spend more than you earn. This is a totally disastrous habit that will quickly lead to financial wreckage. Many times it is because it is so easy to just spend using a credit card or asking for consumer credit. It is the first habit that you must eliminate if you want to avoid serious financial problems. You should think that expenses always have to accommodate the money you currently have, and not be fooled by the fact that you can pay something in installments or on credit. What I do is simply not buy something if I don't have the money right now to pay for it in cash. It is much better to save voluntarily and spend only once you have enough money than to buy now even if you don't have the money, just because you can pay in easy installments or because you still have a limit on your credit card. 2. Spend on things we don't really need. Another harmful habit that prevents us from being rich is spending money on things that, although we can afford them, we don't really need them. We are bombarded by advertising messages that make us believe that we will be happier having all those products that they advertise. Then we make ourselves believe that we deserve that whim, that trip, that clothing, or that high-end and latest generation smartphone. And then the expenses become a kind of rewards with which we reward ourselves because we deserve it. It is also very common to be subscribed to different services, and since we are charged through direct debit, we don't even realize it. Perhaps we are customers of several movie or series streaming services and we don't have time to enter their catalog, or we don't even remember which ones we subscribe to. Another very common thing is to buy more clothes that you don't wear later. Today there are many platforms for the sale of second-hand products where in exchange for money, you can get rid of the clothes that you see that you have not worn for a long time. This is really something that changes a lot from person to person. Something that is unnecessary and superfluous for me, may not be for you. Spending a lot of money on trips can be unnecessary expenses that you should eliminate, but taking a trip per year with your family to have quality time with them can be something very good and even necessary. 3. Unplanned purchases. Unplanned purchases are those purchases that we make on impulse in the supermarket. Many times they are products that are in a special display that is more visible, and in strategic places in the supermarket so that you cannot pass by without noticing their existence. The good way to avoid these impulse purchases is not to buy anything that you have not previously noted on your shopping list. That is why we should always make a sufficiently exhaustive shopping list that covers everything you are going to need. Also write down the price of each product if you know it in advance. Many supermarkets have a website where you can check the price, or you can look at your last purchase receipt. It also helps me if I have put the items to buy on the shopping list in their order of location within the supermarket. I can do this if it is a supermarket that I already know well. This way I avoid going through the entire supermarket and falling into impulsive purchases. 4. Spend everything you earn. In the first point of this video we addressed the problem of living beyond our means, but the habit of spending everything we earn also prevents us from being rich. We reach the end of the month and we don't have any money left over. Our entire salary has magically vanished in all sorts of expenses. The good trick that I follow so that my bank account does not run to zero at the end of the month, is not to wait until the end of the month to save. That is, if we only plan to save what is left over at the end of the month, it is most likely that we will always spend all our income. So the trick is to make savings the first thing we do when we receive our salary or monthly payment. Set aside a percentage of your salary to another bank account and keep that amount untouchable. Here you have to set a percentage that you can then meet. For me, this last trick has marked a milestone in my finances. Since I started practicing saving as the first thing I do with my money, my financial situation has changed drastically. You can do the same. 5. Have a single source of income. Today there are few 100% stable jobs that you can be sure that you will never lose. That is why it is important not to depend on a single source of income. I know that this advice may not be the easiest to follow because you will say, and where am I going to suddenly get another source of income? It can be looking for a side hustle or investing your money in something that generates income from month to month. 6. Saving at the expense of our health. It is important to save, but if we take it to an extreme where we save money, for example, by buying cheaper food that is not healthy, this will not be good for our health and for our lives in the long run, and therefore all the money we have is not going to help us if we lack health. 7. Not investing what you have saved. Nor is it very useful just to save if we never invest part of what we save, even if it is only because inflation is going to eat up the savings that are still in a bank account. You can allocate a part of your savings, for example, to good stocks on the stock market through an intermediary that does not charge too many commissions. When investing, it is important to use your head. Invest only the money that we can afford to lose and avoid high-risk products. There are investment products where you can even lose more than what you have invested. That is why it is important to avoid investment products that we do not understand. It is also super important to only invest when we have previously verified that it is not a scam. All countries usually have some kind of official body that keeps a registry of financial entities that can legally operate in the country. Before investing in shares, make sure that your broker is registered in said registry. Another important rule when it comes to investing is the popular saying of not putting all your eggs in the same basket. That is, it is convenient to diversify the risk and invest in different assets. 8. Not having a spending plan. It is much easier to save if you have a good control of your expenses. That is why it is important to make a monthly budget divided into different expense items, and keep track of all the expenses you make each month. First, take inventory of the monthly expenses you have now, then make a budget where you include only the necessary expenses and commit to spending only on what appears in said budget. Since I started to make budgets of what I am going to spend each month and keep track of all the expenses I make, I have been much more aware of where I spend my money, and I manage to save better and more easily. 9. Not consulting a professional. We all have to pay taxes, but there are many legal ways to pay less taxes. Here it is very useful to consult with a tax lawyer, or a qualified tax advisor to take care of your tax declaration so that you do not pay more than necessary. Paying more or less taxes can have a very important impact on your economy. Professional advice is also important for other matters. For example, if we are going to sign an important contract, let's say, for the sale of a house, in which case, to avoid problems later, it may be highly advisable to consult with an expert lawyer on the subject because it can save us big trouble and at the same time a lot of money. 10. Not to be a law-abiding citizen. For the vast majority, this point is self-evident, but I wanted to take it out because all these tips are of little use to you if you live outside the law, run away from your responsibilities with your creditors, or worse still, get into fights, speed, steal, etc., because not only do they put you in jail, but the fines or sentences to compensate that will fall on you will also lead you to financial hardships from which you will probably never get out. If you like the video, remember to subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss future videos that I upload. Like the video and share it. You can also leave your comments below if you want to add a point to the list.